All right, Holman, you ready for some Truck Show podcast action?
Yeah, this is the official SEMA edition.
All right.
We're live in the EGR booth here in the lovely West Hall.
All right, let's hit it.
The Truck Show podcast, live from the SEMA show in Las Vegas. Presented by Nissan, with support from EGR, Banks, and Amsoil.
So the amazing thing about this is we did this last year and they invited us back.
Yeah, apparently we weren't that bad.
Or we were really cheap, one of the two.
It is happy hour in the EGR booth over here, so if you are thirsty and you need a brew, like our man Bernard Leitner over here, grabbing some beer, ice cold, it's on the house.
Come on down.
Thanks to EGR. All right, do you want to officially start the show now?
That wasn't official?
No, this is.
Okay.
The Truck Show. We're gonna show you what we know. We're gonna answer what the truck, 'cause truck rhymes with the Truck Show. We have the lifted, we have the lowered, and everything in between. We'll talk about trucks that run on diesel and the ones that run on gasoline.
The Truck Show, sing it!
Truck Show, the Truck Show. Whoa,
Come on!
It's the Truck Show with your hosts, Lightning and Holman.
Hey, that's us.
What are you, too cool for school? You can't
Yes.
sing it like you normally do in the studio?
Somebody was in the elevator the other day and they're like, oh, dude, this is my first SEMA. This is so awesome. And I'm like, wow, I remember my first SEMA. And he's like, how many years ago was that? I'm like, 23.
You've done this for 23 years?
Yeah, this is my 23rd SEMA, and that I would be 24, but we had that COVID year off. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
I don't
coming here
feel that
the first
old.
couple years. I was like super into Hondas,
Yeah.
lowered
Yeah,
Hondas
a little
and whatnot.
JDM action.
This is pre Fast and the Furious,
Okay.
and I would salivate all over that scene.
Yeah.
And then I grew up and I became a truck guy.
You know what's funny is I look at all my friends, and I feel like I'm still 25-year-old, walking around the show, and we all look really old now.
A little bit. You look older because you've got a lot more gray than I do.
I do have a lot of gray.
Yeah.
I had one of those memories in my phone came up where Apple decides to regale you with a photo of X amount of years ago. And it was like 5, and it was dark brown. And I remember when we started this podcast, I had almost no gray. Look what you've done to me.
It's weird. I've watched you age.
Yeah, there's definitely been accelerated aging during the course of this. What is this, almost 7 years now?
Has this show put any years on you?
I can tell you that this show is longer than my first marriage. So one of my longest partnerships.
So we've got a little audience out here. What's going on, guys? Come on now. Woo, hey, oh, jeez. They're tired. It's been a long day at SEMA.
Look at these guys over here.
Right? What's up?
Marco.
It's more people that Holman knows. You
Yeah.
get stopped every 30 seconds in the hall. Like you were on your way to the restroom, and guys like, "What's up, Holman? What's going on?"
No, it's weird because I'll walk around with some of my actual friends that are famous. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I would never want that because they can't move at all. And I'm mostly anonymous, except for if you know, you know. And I'm like, it's like, oh, and, walk a few minutes. This hall for sure.
It does say Holman on your shirt, by the way.
I can walk around Central Hall, no problem. Nobody cares, which is great.
Oh, because it's all hot rods and whatnot.
all hot rods.
You walk in here and you're like a rock star.
I don't know about that, but
I mean, a little bit.
Okay,
a little
we'll
bit.
Appreciate
yeah,
that.
The West Hall, yeah. So, of course, we are in the EGR booth, and
Yep.
we've got our friends from EGR. And as you guys know, on the TRX, I'm rocking a roll track.
Awesome,
and we're
awesome
surrounded.
product.
We've got a grenadine, as I like to call it back
No,
here.
that's Quartermaster.
That's the drink that my kids had, right?
No.
Oh, that's
the Grenadier is the SUV. That's the Quartermaster. Right?
Okay,
That's the
got
product.
it. Oh, that's what. Okay,
Where's
I
our man?
can't-
Where's Bernard at?
Where's Bernard? Where's
I saw
Bernard Leitner? Here,
Bernard walked through.
Come on over here.
There he is. He has a beer in his hand.
That's what it is.
Come on, Bernard. Let's talk about this awesome Quartermaster. Yeah, right. here. You got
all right. That's your mic. You can
headphones,
pull the chair out.
mic.
Yeah, we're gonna do this.
Are your mountains blue on that there?
Tell me if I got your headphones up. Is that it? Bernard, what's going on? You had a hand in this build over here.
A small hand, yeah. Actually, Sarah from LGE CTS Motorsports built this, but she called us up and wanted a roof rack for it, and so we did set that up. Yeah, a roof rack, and then obviously our gear pod roofs, which open from the side, so we're the only one who does that.
Okay.
I have that pod on my Wrangler, and I love that thing. That box is great because it opens from the side. Completely transforms the way you use boxes on overlanding rigs. It's when you so people don't know this. I don't think they know this, but you called me up and you said, "Hey, come down to the shop. I want to." And one of my very first clients after I left my previous employment and started my own company And this man right here called me up and said, I got something for you. So I went down, and he showed me this, and I'm like, how has nobody ever thought about taking the box and opening it from the side?
Did he say, I've got a lot of accoutrement for you?
The accoutrement that you will need. Accoutrement?
Yes, that's exactly right. Now, what is special about your rack? Because we talked about this before on the...
Are you going to, publicly, you're going to ask him what's special about his rack?
Yes. So on the Ineos, you went through a bunch of variations, and you kind of had to figure out some things. And I think you have one of the best setups that are out there.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, we're just looking at the customer base. I've been on a bunch of Ineos Grenadier runs, and it'll be like half of the people on the run will have a Lightning rack, and the other ones won't have any rack. So our market penetration is really good on it, and I think what we did different on that.
How does it feel to be the Grenadier guy?
It's feeling better every day.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was one of the first people to get one.
Yeah.
I went right to the day it came out. I got one. So
I remember you let me drive it.
Yeah,
well, the first one.
The first one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Lightner actually owns 2 now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we actually own 2.
What's the one that's parked outside?
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
That's way different than when I drove it. That's all done up and lifted and wheels, tires now. So.
That one has the new Fox 2.5-inch lift on it and 34-inch mud terrains from Firestone.
So I've got to come back out to the shop and put some miles on that thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It's getting loaned out. It's getting loaned out to all sorts of people. Anyone can actually pretty much drive it.
Awesome.
Pretty much anyone.
I knew
Pretty much anyone.
It was a side eye at me. Did you see that?
Lightning, you're excluded from that right now.
Now he's probably better on vehicles than you are.
Yeah, I hear I'm rough. Everyone that works for me, all my employees, they're all like, oh, geez.
Listen,
Bernard's
when you
going out
go
on a test run.
off-roading and the wheel pulls off in your hand, I mean, that's pretty...
And that's happened twice on 2 different vehicles.
The steering wheel has come off twice
At some
on your
point,
vehicles.
that's a you issue.
Yeah, I think I'm very firm on that steering wheel when I grip it. I am not...
Strong
You
hands.
need an OSH handle of some sort. It's not a steering wheel.
I might be a better passenger. So, yeah.
I have a feeling you'd be an awful passenger. You need to be in control.
Yeah, I think you need to be driving.
Nah, if I got a beer in me, I'm pretty good.
Okay.
No, all right.
I loosen up pretty quick.
How has it been working with the EGR crew?
Oh, it's been great, yeah. We've been working with them for quite a while. They make, and I can honestly say this because there are a lot of tonneau covers out there, right? There are so many, and we make a tonneau truck bed rack, right?
Yes,
we
you do.
make a tonneau truck bed rack, and we make it fit many different applications. But the only one that actually can survive our testing where the steering wheels rip off is an EGR one. The EGR one is actually bolted into the side of the truck bed. Like everything else is held on with an aluminum clamp, like a little clamp, and there's 2 of them. And the EGR ones are all bolted in. My buddy has one on a TRX we did testing on. For a heavy rack with a rooftop tent, that thing won't go anywhere.
And the beauty is you can have basically a weatherproof trunk, or you can have an open pickup bed.
Yep.
You can take your rack, you can slide your bar forward, you can put a motorcycle in the back. So it's very modular in the configuration when you pair those 2 products together.
Have you ever measured, because you're a data-driven guy, have you ever measured the force that it, if when you land off a jump or something, I mean, how
When
many
you huck
pounds
your
of-
TRX 8 feet in the air and come down nose first, what does that do to your rack? That's what he's asking.
I mean, as far as data, like data acquisition, we haven't actually done that on that, but I have nosed other competitors' tonneaus, and it has ejected over the top of the TRX.
Oh.
And I had my secretary in the seat when I did it at King of the Hammers, and she still talks about that every day. We nosed it into a whoop at way too high of a speed, and the whole thing ejected off the truck.
It came completely off, or did it wrap over the...
It wrapped over the front of the cab.
Oh, man.
And the rear ones failed and just wrapped
Did
over
it
the front.
dent the hood?
It did. We fixed it.
Okay.
With an
No, we
EGR
didn't
roll
have
track.
Yeah, but Maddie, my girl in the front office, she still talks about that. She's like, that was a rough day.
That was a rough day.
Yeah, it's not going to happen with the roll track.
Yeah, no, it's bolted right in. No, those are solid.
Okay.
Awesome.
So what's new for you at the show? Are you just on foot? Like, what have you seen?
I've seen a bunch of products, but I haven't seen a Lightner booth.
What's that? Sorry.
I've seen you on foot. Walking around. I've seen a lot of products around, but I haven't seen a booth. Are you just showcasing through vehicles?
Basically, exactly. That's pretty much what we do.
Yep.
We sponsor a lot of vehicles out here. Put it, space it evenly around the show. We love SEMA. Been going for 20 years.
I saw you in the Mopar booth.
In there,
on the Power Wagon.
And if you go to the Mopar booth, they have our rack, and we are an affiliate affiliate partner with
Awesome.
Mopar, so they sell our product.
Dude, I
yeah.
love when my friends get successful. You know,
They it's not reciprocated though. You're not successful. so they don't,
could
they
you
don't
rub
have-
off on us a little bit?
I always enjoy this podcast. I always love talking to you guys. You guys rock.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate
you guys
it.
rock.
All
Thank
right,
you.
we'll take that.
Do you know that you guys have shared something that I haven't? You guys have both been in Lockjaw, the Banks truck, and
Oh, right.
and I haven't. You both have ripped around the
that's
block
not true.
faster.
That's not true.
I have physically been in
Well,
it,
you haven't driven it, but because you revved it and broke it.
but I have not been over 5 miles an hour in it. And you both were ripping down the street.
That was pretty awesome.
Yes.
And you got me that ride in it,
yes,
Lennon.
I know that.
You I was the first person, you just waved me over
I
and I
was
jumped in that
selfless.
seat.
I
did
watched
not-
you run
Yeah.
down the street to get
I
into
did.
the lockjaw.
You jumped on the sword for me on that
Yeah.
one. Just come
Yeah.
here. I'm like, awesome.
And then Sean jumped in, and then on the way back we heard it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't hurt it.
It's-
It wasn't
it's
my
heard.
fault.
No, it wasn't his fault at all.
You got to
but
wear headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
To
do have
be
to
in
wear
it.
headphones with that.
Yeah, that
It's got
thing-
fire engine headphones so you can talk to each other. It's pretty cool, right?
It is
It's like,
super cool. No,
all right, how
I'm-
fast are we going?
Yeah. No, it's amazing. High power. I don't know. I don't think the guy driving it knew how much horsepower torque it had. It's just too much for the tires.
Yeah.
That's
Way
part
too
of the fun,
much.
right?
Yeah, it's part of the fun.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it,
brother.
as always. We
Thank
love you.
you, guys.
Love having you.
Thanks,
Great
Lennon.
job working with EGR on the Ineos over here. So look forward to what you do next with them.
Appreciate it. Talk
All
to you
right.
guys soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where's Jesse Spade? There he is.
Jesse just came back.
Can we bring? I got all
Yeah.
three of us. Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do
You
it.
can gang up on the mic. We'll do our best.
Yeah, you guys will have to share it, so it might be weird, but
We've shared it before.
okay, great. It's Vegas.
All right, here comes Mike and Dusty. Come on.
All right, Mike and Dusty.
We got to share the mic. Not this mic. This mic.
Microphone. Mike, let's be very specific
You
here.
get in the middle. You got to
So-
be. You're smaller.
Okay.
so you're
To
in the
prevent
middle,
feedback, we do have to have you get up on the mic.
This is the closest 3 people have ever been on the mic at the Truck Show podcast in our 7 years. So,
All right, Holman, who do we have? We
Oh.
got is it Jesse Spade, Dusty Pack, and Mike Bergeren? Did I? I'm going to butcher it.
You butchered it in slow motion. How did you
Close.
do that?
Burger. What's the correct
Mike B.
pronunciation?
It's Bergerin.
Bergerin. Okay. So apparently, you guys are the trifecta of builds. Tell us how you got hooked up with EGR and what did you build in this booth?
Well, we did not build anything in this booth.
Oh, okay.
But I've known Pat Johnson.
Oh, he's a good guy.
Yeah. For years and years and years.
He once
So-
locked Lightning in a prototype Ram pickup bed with a roll track on it.
That happened.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not
We're going to
very
leave
nice.
him that way.
I would expect nothing less. That's what. I'm trappable.
You know why they have those little yellow glow-in-the-dark handles?
Yeah.
It was because of that incident. Yeah.
It's very important. So no, Pat back in the day used to work for Onyx Ada, Rugged Ridge, and they helped me. They sponsored a Jeep I brought back in the day to their booth, and I designed a couple wheels, different wheel models for them. And I was in the Jeep business forever and ever and ever and ever, and ran into Pat. Said he's with EGR now. We came by and
Nice.
love the stuff here and wanted to talk to you guys.
You're doing a little bit of TV too, huh?
Yeah, we do. So we're
With Courtney and
with Courtney Hansen,
Yeah.
yeah, the three of us are on Ride of Your Life on Motor Trend.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mike is our upholstery guy. Dusty's the project manager on the show.
Tell us about the show for those who haven't seen it.
The easiest way is, it's kind of similar to overhauling, but we don't start with their car. We, find a car, totally surprise them with it. A friend, loved one calls in, writes us, or tells a story. It's usually somebody who had to give their car or sell their car,
To help
hard
somebody
times,
out or-
yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Their kids, a lot of single moms, veterans, things like that. And they were just never able to get their car back. So we find one.
These are all heartstrings. Pull on heartstrings, all of the stories, right?
Total hard.
have you ever found
everyone?
the actual car they had to give away?
No. Well, no, that's not true. Yeah, the
One time?
Roadrunner. Yeah, we did a Roadrunner, and they had it had kind of stayed in the family.
Yeah.
Sort of got lost in the mix, and we got to actually get our hands on that actual
That's
car.
pretty cool.
69 Roadrunner convertible, really cool.
Was the recipient of that blown away that was the car?
Yeah. So that was a big crying episode. They're always surprised. It's real tears. It's real. These people are really surprised. We do a good job of not letting them know that they're getting a car.
And how much work do you have to do after the fact, after you've presented the vehicle? All the TV show car builds, you get it 70% there,
Yeah.
you give it to them, and you go, oh, by the way, the cameras aren't rolling, we need to get that car back so we can finish it.
I think you just nailed it. That's probably about right.
70?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're running, driving, stopping.
Yep.
They look good on camera. We get them back. We have to make sure they're safe and everything's screwed in.
So, Dusty, you're the show manager, but you actually own a shop in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I own a shop in Oklahoma City. 6 months out of the year, I'm in Atlanta working for Royal, running the shop down there, keeping things.
Oh, you're busy.
I'm busy. So.
Who runs your shop when you're gone?
My guy Grant is here with me. He runs the shop while I'm gone. His brother Caleb. They keep it rolling while I'm out of town. But we got 9 employees. I've got 12,000 square feet.
Wow.
I got 23 builds in progress.
What's your wait list right now?
My wait list?
Yeah. If you finish all your projects on time, if I was a new customer, how long would it take me to get mine built?
I would say I wouldn't be able to touch it probably till maybe next spring right now.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
Wait. One slot.
Spring of 25 or spring of 26?
25. We're pushing through. We are pushing through.
Okay.
You
So
say 26, so you sound like a baller.
2028. Yeah. All right. So, but no, we're pushing out cars, guys.
Now, if
guys
I were to bring a car to you and that 2028 number came up, could I just give you a couple hundos and like move that up in line? Is that how you work?
a couple 100,000 hundos.
You're not going to pull a Fred Durst, Jesse James, where he tells him to kick rocks, no matter how much he's going to throw down.
No, I've turned a lot of people away. I've probably turned more work away than I've brought in. over
Was
the
it the vibe of I don't want to be married to this person?
A lot of it is you have to interview your clients.
You totally, especially when you're doing high-end builds.
Exactly, because
right?
you don't want to get halfway through a build.
Yeah.
You have a vision, they have a vision, you agree on it, then you get halfway through and they want to change something, and automatically it's my fault.
Right.
Everything's written
Like, no,
down.
no, change
You
order.
contracts, So you got to protect yourself. But no, it's a blast, man. I've been in business for myself for 11 years last month, and doing the TV show since 2020. So I'm all over and loving life.
Where were you before your own shop, and how did you make that jump to entrepreneurialism?
So in 98, 99, a good friend of mine in Oklahoma City, Jake McKitty, he owns a shop now called Fat Fabs.
Dude,
Yeah,
I worship
He's
Jake's
a huge
work.
Fat Fabs.
You
We've had him
no
on the
idea.
show
There you
before.
go.
Great dude.
Jake and I went to school together.
Awesome dude.
It was Slamboree 99. We both went there.
Slamboree.
Yeah.
So I started at Trucking Magazine in the early
There you go.
2000s. So
we saw an S10 or Sonoma
Heat
there.
Wave.
Can't get wrong. Heat Wave.
Showfest.
I died at Heat Wave. I've been there. Showfest was terrible.
Slamboree. LS. I mean, all
So
of it.
anyways, we kind of got into trucks about the same time.
Nice.
So he was still driving a semi for his granddad's grease company in Choctaw at the time. And over at his parents' house, we just started trying to bag his truck, figuring it out as we went.
Yeah.
So we got into it about the same. So he went his way, I went mine. Fast forward, I'm an aircraft mechanic by trade. I'm working on DC-9s and MD-80s.
Okay.
I'm building cars and trucks on the side.
By the way, Mad Dog's solid plane. Right?
Right.
Yeah?
I don't know what you're saying right now.
Really?
MD-80, Mad Dog series.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Bro.
Anyway, dude.
I'm not.
I'm an aviation. I love
I'm not an
aviation.
aerospace guy.
There you go.
Okay.
So,
Just give a little love back to the aviation people, that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. No, I just got tired of doing them on the side. And I sighed, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it full time. And turned in my paperwork. I left a 6-figure job to try to take my passion full time, and that was 11 years ago. So now I'm on television, and I'm getting waved. You leaving?
I love it. This is the best part about doing a live show.
It
at
doesn't
SEMA.
matter.
It doesn't matter. People are just cruising by. We're
whatever.
waiting.
Right.
They look at the mics, they ignore it. Hey, what's going on? Hey, oh, beer. I'm going to be over there.
Yeah, that's the story of Dusty.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Mike, you're an upholsterer by trade.
Yep, let's turn the mic.
Yep.
So are you like more old school in pleats and things like that? Or you do anything, or what materials? What's your vibe?
Well, I mean, most of what I'm doing now is I work high-end German.
Okay.
Let's say I actually work for a Porsche during the day at headquarters in Atlanta.
Oh wow.
So that's your jacket says Porsche Classic right
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in there. So I mean, it's all
So
about
you're doing
luxury,
high-end, yeah.
that kind of stuff, all leather Alcantara, that kind of stuff, all one-off kind of.
Yeah.
How much of that is automated with laser or by just a scissor? None of it.
Yeah, none of it. Everything starts with masking tape with me and builds up.
So it's old school craftsmanship.
100% old school craftsmanship.
So you work
all
on like
done by
old
hand.
911s and things like that and bringing them back up. So somebody takes you a cherished car and says, I want this rebuilt through the Porsche program.
Yep. Everything from the 356 up to the 997, I believe, is the current classic.
I have to admit to hurting a 356 one time, so I will always wear that pain on my heart.
Did it cost you personally?
No, because my boss, who's the shop owner, handled it, and the customer, it was a 356B coupe, and I was pulling it out of the shop, and I was like 18 or 19, and I drove all those high-end cars forever. I worked at a Mercedes, BMW, Porsche shop. Turbos, slant noses, M3s, E34s, all that stuff. E39, M5s, all that. No problem. For whatever reason, I thought I had it in reverse, and because the shifter was so loose, let the clutch out, popped into the back wall into the jacks, and it was on call for a movie.
Oh,
and it bent the bodywork below the rear bumper and all that. And I was like, I thought I was going to get fired. And it turns out the guy who owned it was like, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll get it fixed. It's just a car. He like felt so bad for me because I was like, I'm like classic Porsche, and I go and destroy it. Back of it, and he's like, no, it's good. We'll fix it. Got it fixed, handled it.
Most of them understand that the car is made to be driven, and if you're out there driving it, things happen.
Yeah.
But
this was a really clean car, but he was never afraid to drive it.
It works that way. But yeah, I mean, my background and everything is domestic street rods, hot rods, that kind of stuff. So I got pulled into the show at the end of the first season just to be kind of on set, helping out a little bit.
Then you got pulled more into the show.
Then I got pulled in a lot more just before the second season began, and was with them the whole time. So yeah,
what's it like?
It took me to do 2 cars at my regular job, we did 10 full vehicles.
What's it like to transition from your own shop, your own clients, a corporate job, and then now a TV show, which is completely different from every other experience you could ever have in this world?
It's completely worlds apart, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's kind of one of those, like, I've always said, like, I don't mind flying by the seat of my pants, but I'm flying by the seat of everybody else's pants, especially our designer. I mean, the guy who's running the show is super creative, everything like that, but
now you got to take that drawing into reality.
Oh, it's not even always a drawing. A lot of the time, it's just he comes up to you and goes, "Hey, what about this?" And he meant it, but he never said it again. And then he asked you where it was, so you got to do it at the last second, and it's like, all right, what's wrong?
How often are you impressed, like walking around SEMA? How often do you look inside of a build and go, wow, I don't even know how they did this? Or do you walk around conversely and say, this is not good?
No, well, I mean, there's layers to everything. You can definitely tell, and I mean, I know just from being in the industry as long as I have that and doing things myself. I mean, we had 2 vehicles here at the Blueprint booth outside. So some things you got to do quickly. At that point, I mean, you got to worry about, like, it's more about the overall look and everything, and you kind of miss the minor details. But people that do these and really build and take their time and everything, I mean, you'll see some of the best work ever here. I mean, I've kind of been in awe of this show.
We just awarded, I did some stuff with TMI and judging for interiors, and Sean Smith on the Ring Brothers K5, like that thing was like unbelievable, right? And there's a few of that level here at the show. But what I love about the TMI awards is SEMA is always about the outside or the engine, and a lot of times the interior doesn't get done, right? So you get tinted windows. And I love how it kind of turns the cars inside out, puts the focus back on the interior. And I'm sure you probably appreciate that too, because that's your craft. And it seems like that's probably the last thing to be appreciated in most cars, unless it's a convertible or something like that. It's part of the overall design theme, is the interior.
Luckily, there's a couple of shops that I really look up to and everything that have kind of turned everything on their heads over the last couple of years. I think really incorporating a lot more of the 3D modeling, 3D printing, and really coming
and full engineering
and doing that. I mean, the guy like DJ Designs, Avant-Garde, like they're next level with it. I mean, so them I really look up to, and I really give them a lot of credit for bringing that back and bringing a lot of that style out of just the audio world and really bringing it into the overall
We've talked about that before.
Rod and street rod experience.
It was. I feel like for so long it was exclusive to the 12-volt world.
Yeah,
right?
I think it started with subwoofer boxes and consoles, right before it went to door panels and dashes and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, now with the amount of additive manufacturing that's actually available on the smaller shop level, the consumer level, and everything, it's really bringing that out into the forefront. A lot of what we're able to do, and there's shops that just excel.
You're talking about additives to like 3D printing.
3D printing, resin printing. I mean, even getting down into the like the CNC metal shaping and that kind of stuff. But it's all getting onto the digital. Like the digital is where it's moving to. So everything's really CNC based. And now you can print full door panels. You can print full dashboards in components modularly that'll fit into factory brackets and everything like that, just so it takes the availability of what we can do to another level.
Just how creative are you really? You'll find out.
Yeah, and now we actually get to incorporate a lot of people that are video game artists and that type of stuff into it, because now people are using like Fusion 360. I know people that design with Unreal Engine and everything.
Oh, that's interesting. That's kind of jumped into this area.
So it's coming into that, and then you can incorporate that and make the shift from CAD to the CAM side of it and everything, and it just... Yeah,
it's wild how technology has transformed. Even for a guy like you that's doing old school you can still appreciate or even use some of that technology to help build out what you're trying to do.
I mean, that's always what I'm trying to do. I always like to I like to pay homage to the heritage of whatever I'm working on and everything, but especially with what we're doing now where I'm at, these people are spending an exorbitant amount of money to do a full restoration and everything. I want to make sure they have to do it once.
One time. Right.
So build it in from the bones up, build it right, and make sure and then they never have to do it again. If it's going to be done again, it's because somebody wants to.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to ever have to.
Awesome. All right. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Jesse,
your time.
Dusty,
Absolutely.
Mike, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Hey, Peter Tridy's here. Come on over here, Peter.
Let's get Peter on the mic.
Come on and grab this mic.
Man,
What's going on, Mr. Peter
use the
Tridy
term
from
loosely.
Well, you should. You know us well enough.
That's right.
So I want to say Peter Tridy from SEMA, but he's not so
or
much
Banks.
SEMA anymore. Well,
or,
yeah.
I mean, but I could go through his resume.
Now
but we
you're
don't
with a
have
company
to.
called ACS, which
That is
few
correct.
people have heard of, but it's a very busy company, and you're probably busier now than you've ever been.
I'm pretty busy these days. Automotive Consulting Services is what the acronym stands for, and basically doing a lot of the same work that I've been doing.
That working with Rob?
Yeah,
Yep.
working with Rob Simons.
Yep.
And Stephen Ruiz and a bunch of other guys.
Great team down there.
It's a really great team. I'm really blessed to be able to do this. I get a little more freedom in my day, and I kind of am returning to some hands-on work, which I really like. I'm hands-on with the testing. I'm looking at data. I'm analyzing it. I'm doing the data acquisition.
We should give some backstory. So you were the emissions compliance officer?
I was. My title was Director of Emissions Compliance at SEMA. That role is now filled by a good friend of mine. His name is Dean Schlingman. Dean's an
Dean?
off-road racer. You know Dean? Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's been with an OEM for quite a number of years, Kia, Hyundai. Has worked in the emissions space, so he really understands that world. He's the aftermarket side of it he's growing on him. You know? He's learning some new stuff, but he's really filling that role well. And
will you still be our go-to emissions expert?
I'm happy to do that,
All
guys.
right.
You know,
nobody knows
I like hanging out
harm
with you.
and the devil that is the EPA like this man right here, intimately.
It's been my
he has danced with the devil one too many
but
times.
he doesn't call them the devil; he calls them his frenemy.
Frenemy? Exactly. So
you got to get along with them.
So at ACS though, you don't just do emissions, right? But ACS is more than that.
That's correct. Yeah. So ACS is basically an engineering house and a freelance engineering house, and we're doing everything from emissions compliance to design work. We've got engine modeling software that where we can really tell you exactly what you can anticipate from particular designs.
We also do some white label calibration for other companies, and
absolutely.
you have quite a client base who might make a hard part, and then you take that hard part and you make sure that it all runs together, and then your tune, your software, your integration software goes back with that manufacturer to sell with their hard part.
Yeah, and a lot of the expertise that we have, we understand emissions. So that when you're dealing with calibration, to be able to know how to calibrate to meet emissions is a big piece of that, and that brings a lot of value to a lot of people. So
I know from your previous experience, you know how to build clean burning or compliant, I guess we could say, aftermarket products that would get approved through government regulatory bodies. You go to SEMA, and you're basically testing people's products and making sure that they pass. I'm kind of curious, have you ever gone into some of the aftermarket, some of the top tuners, and looked at how they do their tables? And do you ever look at that and go, oh, I see what they did here, or, oh, that's not going to work? Or have you seen any tricks of the trade, things that have educated you by picking up on what some of these other folks are out there doing to kind of, I guess to educate yourself on how the game's being played on the other side of the fence?
Yeah, there's no doubt that there are the things that you can learn as you go through this process, and areas of calibration. Calibration is divided up into tables. So you have these X and Y axes, and you have all these values.
And people usually see like a blue, red, orange, whatever green color chart that looks like a wave over a table. It's kind of what most people see a fuel table.
And how do you shape that, right? When you're viewing it like in a 3D model, right? How do you shape that? Where are the mountains and the valleys and all that to be able to make sure that the vehicle will remain compliant and still get you the power and performance that you're after with that aftermarket product. So yeah, there's definitely things that you learn as you go through this, and techniques that are gained through that. What's really interesting to me is the different approaches that each OEM takes. The OEMs don't all do it the same. They have some of their own designs and intentions, and sometimes they're using different sensor suites. So, how you map things,
And sometimes they're not even real sensors; they're calculations.
They're virtual, virtual
exactly.
sensors.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious if I had, let's say, manufacturer Y, and I had a dual overhead cam 4-cylinder, and it's a 2-liter, and I have manufacturer B, or X, or whatever, and it's the same thing. It's a 2-liter dual
Is it
overhead
B
cam.
or is it X?
Well,
What-
it doesn't
yeah.
matter. I have one and I have another. Can you take that table and overlay it on either of those engines because they're so similar, or would each of those, because of little quirks in design, have to be custom tuned specifically for that application?
Yeah, I'm not a calibrator myself. I get to observe this a little bit over the shoulders of the other guys. But every calibration is going to have certain quirks about it. There's always going to be limits that you have to work within. Most of those limits are going to come from the OBD system because the OBD system has constraints. So if you take a sensor outside of its intended range, that's going to start throwing errors and things like that. So you're usually working within a narrow channel somewhere, but oftentimes, like when you go to forced induction, for example, you need to rescale the whole thing, and your mass airflow or your pressure scales are all going to be different. So everything gets shifted, and you have to accommodate that not just in one table, but throughout the entire calibration. Every table that's in there, and we're talking generally hundreds of tables. Now the technology has gotten to where things are more virtual.
I feel like this is going to end up AI will solve this.
Right? There's definitely going to be some capabilities there. Now, the other thing is cracking the ECU, just getting inside the ECU to even see these
some of the
tables.
manufacturers, the catchphrase is typically like Pentagon level encryption, right? There's some manufacturers that have their ECUs locked down, and there was Toyota for longest time on the last generation trucks could not be cracked, and people were doing inline tuners and things like that.
Well, if you think about it, like as we move into more and more ADAS control, where you have these advanced driver assistance systems,
They don't want you getting in.
They don't want you in there because,
Right.
something happens, the vehicle goes dead in the middle of the road, you wind up with an accident. I mean, they don't want, the OEMs don't want that liability.
Yeah.
So, they're locking it down pretty tight, and that carries over into everything. The vehicle is one big piece of electronics now. So
I kind of feel like that's one of the reasons, companies like Ford, for example, now for the Ranger Raptor, Bronco Raptor, they're doing their own in-house tune for $700 and something bucks, fully warranted, 49 state legal or whatever it happens to be, and they're saying, listen, here's an approved calibration. It gives you a whole lot more power, and we're thumbs up. It's kind of closing out the aftermarket, but at the same time, if you go to that OE, they feel better because they can give the customer something they want, but then they can ensure that they're not going to take on any more liability for it.
Yeah, and there's a place for that, and there are definitely customers for that.
Sure.
There's always going to be customers that want more. That want it. They want their fingers in the pie. They want to be saying, I had the guy down the road do this tune for me. So there's always going to be some of that, and there's personalization. There's what's under the hood. How does it look under the hood? The supercharger, their intake kit. Whatever it happens to be. There's a lot of visual stuff that goes along with modification too. So
I feel like we have to have a whole nother episode just with Peter.
Good thing we have his phone number.
Yeah, that's true.
You do indeed. Yeah,
but not his new email. Oh, maybe you changed both.
No,
okay,
I have
good.
it. I got it. Exactly.
Hey, I got a question for you, Holman.
Yes.
So you visited the Bronco Barn. Tell me about it.
Oh my God, the Bronco Barn.
Steve's
was
a good
awesome.
friend of mine.
I love Steve.
I've raced with Steve for years.
Yeah.
And so what was it like?
He's a good dude. So he hit me up because I don't know if I'm supposed to tell anybody this, but because he's a hardcore Ford guy, Ford racer. I think he has 7 class championships and 30 overall. I mean, just legendary Baja racer, Steve Olages. And he bought a Wrangler 392.
Oh, no.
So he owns Team Chevy and Team Ford here in Vegas.
Okay.
And so he got a 392 in on trade. And he and I, we've known each other for a while, but we really got to know each other a little bit better when we were both on the Bronco industry expert panel during Bronco development for 5 years. And so he and I got to know each other, and he's like, man, you know a lot about a lot of stuff. And I got my 392, and he's like, you didn't get a Bronco? And, we went back and forth. Anyway, he calls me up, he's like, hey, I got this 392 in trade. I really like it. So he's like, are you coming to SEMA? And I said, yeah, I'll be out there. He goes, if you have any free time, I want you to see my new Jeep, but I want you to check out the Bronco Barn. So the Bronco Barn is basically his dealership did like a quick lane service station with emissions testing.
Yep.
They have a dyno in the back, which is super rad. And they'll be able to do in Nevada, where we're at, there is diesel emissions testing that's
Clark
required
County,
in Clark County.
specifically.
So he'll be able to do that testing on site at the quick lane. So the next door to, and it was an old equipment rental yard. They kept one building there, and I won't tell you what's in the building that they kept, but they knocked everything else down. It's this really authentic, rustic, awesome, state-of-the-art shop. It's got 6 or 7 bays. It's got a clean bay for doing PPF all the way in the back. It's got computers where they can put together the packages and show you on the computer what your vehicle will look like. And they do all makes and models, but they specialize in Bronco. And I'm super proud of him because he's been talking about it forever. And it was kind of like one of those things, should we, shouldn't we? And he did it. And so
is this the type of thing that we need to go and interview him at the Bronco?
I'll talk to you about that later. I already have
look,
something.
at his core, he's a Ford guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got to
Always.
give him credit for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, Steve knows performance. He's been
hell of
around
a driver.
the off-road racing scene for a long time, and he's a great guy.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you got to do that.
No,
That's cool.
it's cool. And I think we're gonna do something with him. We'll come out. Maybe I should announce something. We're working on doing a in-store with them for the podcast, so our Vegas listeners could come down. Maybe
breaking
during his
news here.
Maybe through his grand opening or something like that. So
I didn't even know about this, so thank you, Peter, for asking.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've talked about coming to Vegas and doing something. We didn't really have the right place.
Right.
And Steve's like, "Would you want to do something here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So we're going to talk about that and maybe do something in spring.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
Peter-
here's a teaser for getting back together.
Yeah.
You guys know about diesel particulate filters.
Yeah, we
Yes.
do.
Coming around the corner, gas particulate filters.
Yes, we've heard
DI,
that.
right?
We need to stop there.
All right.
We got.
No.
We have so much more to talk to him about,
Yeah.
but we can't do it here. I want to talk about gas.
We'll have you come back.
Plan of time.
Oh, God,
I'm-
gas particulate filters, please, no. But it's coming, I know.
It's
All
right
right,
around the
don't.
corner.
I'm not going to let you rain on our parade with
Yeah,
that, Peter.
yeah,
We're
no,
gonna
no,
we're
no,
gonna
fine.
enjoy the SEMA. We're gonna enjoy the direction of things right now.
Yes.
We're gonna have fun.
All right.
to talk
All
about.
right.
We love you.
Good
Thank
to see you guys.
All right,
All right, thanks, Peter.
You're the best. Justin,
Got Justin from Cognito.
come on
up.
over here.
This is awesome. We have like a train of people waiting
Step
to
on up
talk
to the mic
us.
right here. There we go. Yeah, you can put those on.
Yeah,
Sure, if
throw
you
'em
want
on.
to. Help you here. Make sure that you got us. You got any
hear us?
volume there? Check 1, 2.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Isn't that weird?
Is it too loud in your headphones now?
No, it's perfect.
You're all good? Okay. Justin is the founder of Cognito, and you guys are fellow Cali boys out of
Yep.
Bakersfield,
Yeah,
correct?
Baco.
Bakersfield, California.
Yeah. What year is this for Cognito?
Is that SEMA?
No. I mean, so when did you form Cognito?
Cognito was I founded it in 2001 in a chicken coop in Arroyo Grande, California.
And I remember I was at Truckin' Magazine back then,
Yep.
and we did some of your early builds and covered
Yeah.
the features on it because you were building big stuff nobody else was doing at the time.
Yeah, I didn't want to come in and compete with your Fab Techs and Pro Comp, so we said, hey, let's go big. Let's go
Yeah.
10-inch. Let's knock out this body lift crap. And
Yeah.
so let's go 10. So that's where we started and kind of built from there, literally in a chicken coop in Arroyo Grande.
That's awesome.
So how did you, when you started this, and we don't have a ton of time, I would love to have an entire episode with just you. You're the kind of guy that we would spend an hour with. We can't hear, but
Anytime.
Take us back to that moment when you said, I'm going to build the best lifts that I possibly can. Because like you said, at that time, without naming other names, you could go up 6, 7 inches, but it's like, they might fold. These suspensions were not great.
Yeah, we just wanted to do something different. And, you know, it's in my DNA. Whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to do it well. I kind of learned that from my dad. He built drag boats, drag cars, racing engines. You don't build racing engines half-assed.
No.
You got to go all out, right? So, and he was known for being the water wizard in the drag boat racing scene.
Awesome.
So, you know, it's kind of in my DNA to build good stuff, and so that was the approach I took.
What was your background? Were you a mechanical engineer?
Yeah,
or-
I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo.
Oh, my son's going there,
Yeah.
second year. Yeah.
Mechanical engineering. So I got my bachelor's of science in mechanical engineering. Graduated in 2000. Ended up getting a job in San Luis Obispo at a place called Advanced Aerospace. And, you know, it was kind of starting Cognito on the side a little bit until the 9/11 tragedy happened.
yeah.
Got laid off from that because it was a bunch of aerospace type
Sure.
stuff. And just got every credit card I could.
I worked
went
at
for
Boeing
it.
at the time,
Did
so
you? Yeah. So you know.
I know.
Just got every credit card I could and just went for it. And man, it just no options. Just no options. Burn the boats.
Yeah.
So when you
Well, real quick, I want to know more about the chicken coop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Serious.
So what was it on your property? Was it?
No.
Well, tell me about it.
Yeah, so I didn't have any property over there at the time, but if you're familiar with Arroyo Grande, you'd probably know where I'm talking
Oh, yeah.
about.
a
But
very small town.
Los Barros Road and El Campo, and up on the hill there was a bunch of chicken coops, 700 feet long, 50 feet wide, and I had a 60-foot section of one. So I had 3,000 square feet. It was 17 cents a square foot. It was all I could afford.
Oh my God.
But it had 3-phase power, and
Well, there you go.
The floors.
Wait, why does
the
a
floor
chicken
clean?
coop? Wait, why does a chicken coop have 3-phase power?
It was Agland, so it
Okay.
had 3-phase.
Plus, they got to keep those eggs warm and the machine to like sort them out.
I
and-
guess. Okay.
Yeah, so
Probably making that up, but
floors were super wavy. They're just mopped concrete floors, chicken crap everywhere, chicken wire windows, and I literally went to Home Depot, got plywood, hinges, ropes and pulleys, like literally boarded up all these chicken wire windows. Put on 4 of them, put pulleys and ropes so I could just winch up a window, open it during the day while I was working. I mean, I was the welder, I was the machinist, I was the sales guy. I kind of did it all until I got some part-time help in there, some students coming in and helping machine, and then a welder.
little internship over at Cal Poly.
Yeah, I literally washed my hands in a bucket, in the shop there, and used the outhouse down the road. I mean, that's what it was. When the tubing truck showed up, I was unloading it by hand.
How long were you there before you moved into your first real building?
Yeah, so it was time, in late 2003. It was time for a real shop. I just couldn't afford anything in San Luis Obispo. So March of 2004, I moved back to Bakersfield. A little help from my parents. Got a 2,500 square foot shop there. Ended up picking up the unit next door to it, and then another unit on the next street, and then 2 more next to it.
Started building yourself a campus.
So
was it always called Cognito? And if not, so where did the name come from?
Okay, well, good question. Those were from the partying days in college, right? Before business. I was in school and had some buddies over from Bakersfield, and we're partying and telling stories about the previous night. And I was just looking for a word that was opposite of incognito, a word opposite of incognito. I was trying to think of one. I'm like, well, that would be cognito. I'm like, but that's not a real word. It's not. Is it in the dictionary? No, it's not in the dictionary. But that'd be a cool business name someday if I ever had a business. And then 2 years later,
you got a business.
I got a business, and I got a business name. That's how it came.
So you decided to. What was your first lift as far as height?
10-inch.
10-inch lift.
And what was the vehicle?
Half-ton Chevy, 88.
And how did you know obviously mechanical engineer, but how did you know the geometry that you wanted to, because you have a signature look, and you always have, right? Yeah. And it's something that guys and all these GM trucks and other trucks,
it's been replicated by lots of people over time.
You've been ripped off a lot. Yeah. And you know that. But you guys still want the OG. They want your brand name. They want it built here in America, all that stuff. So how'd you first start? Like, how did you know that geometry?
Well, I started with the things I learned from engineering school, obviously triangulation, things like that. That's where that big X front cross member came from.
Which is kind of the signature of your drop down was that cross member.
Exactly. You could see that thing coming from a mile away, right? So it kind of started there. How did I do it? Honestly, I'm way better at doing this stuff now, of course, than I was back then. I didn't know everything back then. Learned a lot along the way. Back then, everybody was doing upper control arm drops. So you drop the upper control arm down as well as the lower control arm. Well, because you didn't have spindle kits back then. Spindle kits came more in, 2003 or 4 or somewhere around there.
Yeah, kind of started on the two-wheel drive pre-runners and then kind of got over to the other lift kits.
So, I always thought, okay, they're doing it because they don't want to drop that upper control arm down. But one day I'm like, all right, I'm going to do the math here. So I bust out my calculator and my engineering formulas, and I start running math, and I'm like, whoa. You run the spindle kit, upper ball joint's way higher off the ground now. This thing just got 4 times stronger. Okay,
the leverage is in your favor now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just imagine taking stock geometry, moving it down, 10 inches, and putting this massive tire on there. You're just overpowering the geometry. So now with spindle kits, everything gets taller. As tire scales, so does your spindle height. Upper control arm is that much further away from lower control arm. You just got more leverage over the tire now with a spindle kit. So we started doing that, around 2005 or 6, jumped over to spindle kits, just saw the benefit there. And just built, just kept developing and learning along the way, and just wanted to make it better and better and better. And
do you know where any of your early kits are? Like, are they still driving around? Did you ever get a customer call you and you're like, oh my God, bring it here. I just want to see what I did 20 years ago.
Probably in Louisiana or Mississippi or something like that, I bet. But I do see a couple old trucks running around Bakersfield.
That's cool.
Like 07, something.
Do you ever think oh man, that lasted longer than I thought?
Dude, I'm going, well, that's cool to see it still lasting. Powder coat's still there. That's me, dude. I'm really picky about stuff, so I don't want to phosphate wash my steel parts and then powder coat because the finish is going to last 2 years.
Yeah.
I media blast my stuff so that I can put a quality
So there's
powder
a
coat
nice.
on
Basically, what you're doing is you're
Etching.
creating a surface for the powder coat to adhere to.
Yeah, you've got to etch that metal and get that laser slag off of there.
And your cross members too they're in the wind stream, so they're smashing bugs, they're getting rocks, all that kind of stuff. So that's an area that it's the first thing you see, but it's also the first thing to take the brunt of off-roading or rock chips or all the things that are on the road.
Yeah, so today to see 18-year-old trucks still rolling around Bakersfield with this Cognito lift kit on it and my old school logo on it's pretty neat.
That's
it's still
cool.
holding up, so yeah, I dig it.
That wasn't the only thing. You were also making advancements in the steering.
Yep.
Like you had to strengthen the steering as well, because I remember
those GMT 400 and 800 trucks were
2001.
not great steering.
I had someone else's kit on my truck, but I had your steering equipment because it was the only thing out there that actually did what it promised to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much time we got, but I could tell you the story how that came about.
Yeah, let's do it. I love it.
Okay. You guys heard of Doug DeBerti?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
Trends, right? Well, Doug and
Brad.
Friend of mine, yep. And Bakersfield boys, right? So Doug's hey, I got this new 08 Chevy HD. I want to build it for SEMA. Let's go with the biggest kit you got. I'm going to put 40s on it. Okay. And I need you to build it for me, please.
Well,
okay.
At that time, what was the biggest tire that you were running on? Was it 37s, 40s? You were going up 40s by then?
Yeah. And Doug always pushes the limit.
Oh, yeah,
so
of course he does.
Yeah, he's going to run 40s.
Yeah, if somebody's doing a 40, it's like, oh, here's a 41.
Yeah, for sure. So we build the truck in my shop, my little 2,500 square foot unit, and he sends a tow truck to pick it up. Now the truck's already painted, everything is done. He drops the truck off essentially done without suspension, but he drops off the wheels and tires with it. So we build the truck, we get it done, and he sends a tow truck with a flatbed to come pick it up. And literally, we pull the truck up to the flatbed, guy drops the flatbed down, he hooks up to the truck, starts winching it up the flatbed, and I watch the front tires just toe in like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it going, did I leave something loose? Like I'm like really worried at that point. I'm starting to wipe my forehead, right?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
And I'm like watching this thing, and I'm watching what's flexing, and I'm watching that drag link and the pitman arm and the idler arm, and they're just flexing like crazy. And I'm like, what is going on? As soon as the rear tires touched the deck bed of the tow truck, that stress relieved, tires went back straight. And I'm like, what just happened?
And if you ever watch, that era IFS Chevy truck going up over like a whooped out hill or something, you'll watch that flex, toe in, toe out, toe in, toe out.
And I think I said that was an 08. It was actually 2006. So that was for 2005 SEMA.
Okay.
Anyway, we go to SEMA, whatever. I kind of like put it in the back of my head. Well, Doug comes home and he's got now a Hummer H2 that's got my 10-inch kit on it. He's got a 25.
I remember
HD,
that Hummer.
Yeah, with my 10-inch kit on it. They start heading up to their place in Big Bear. Well, it starts snowing on the way up to Big Bear. He looks in the rearview mirror and sees his truck. Whoever was driving his truck, they all stopped and locked him in 4-wheel drive because it's starting to snow and you got to head up the mountain, right? Front tires are towing in like crazy. And he calls me, Justin, I don't know what's going on, but the front tires are towing like crazy, and it just clicked immediately. And I went, I know exactly what's happening. I said, hey, when you get back, please bring me that thing. Brings it back to me. I look at it. I knew it was happening, and I literally said, hey, I could build a bracket that pivots off here, and it has a Heim joint here, because this just needs to pivot on axis.
What was happening in the snow?
It wasn't the snow.
It was the four-wheel drive.
They locked it in four-wheel drive. Yeah. So they lock it in four-wheel drive, and they're heading up a mountain on the pavement, but it was starting to snow. That's why they locked it in four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So they're heading up. Well, you got all this load because the front tires are pulling. So they're trying to pull together. So now you see that toe in, and so that's
looking at it like a tractor pull. You'll see that. With
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
So he comes back. I look at it. I'm like, hey, I could do this, that. Literally the next day, I had a prototype, and it worked. And I'm like, whoa, this is patentable for sure. Yeah. So started calling around, found a patent attorney, a great one in Bakersfield.
Was this your first patent?
History. That was my first patent.
How many do you have?
I have 3 patents.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's the story of how the Pittman and Idler Arm Support Kit was born.
I mean, that revolutionized people going big tires on those trucks, because that was the only way to drive them safe.
Yeah, and I'm not talking, I don't want to talk bad about any specific brands, but I tell you what, I feel like I'm the only brand that understands the steering in depth to be able to explain to people the problem, how it happens, and how we fix it. And it's very important. But you can put that steering kit on anybody's lift kit, almost anybody's.
As Lightning did, you sell out.
Anybody's leveling kit, stuff like that. So I think it's a really valuable product.
Did you envision Cognito being as big as it is today and it's such an important brand to the aftermarket? You couldn't have envisioned this. There's no way.
I had no clue. when I started in the chicken coop in Arroyo Grande in 2000, I thought I would be retired by 35 and living life, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I was just a kid, right? I was just going for it. I just, I wanted more out of life, and I was willing to put in whatever work it took. I didn't have a clue, but I'll tell you, our Christmas party last year, one of my guys that's been with me for probably 8 years, he goes, man, how did you know? Like, when you started this, how did you know it was going to get to this? I go, Danny, I didn't have a freaking clue, Danny. I had no clue. I was just doing it.
You were willing to take a risk.
Doing it.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That's amazing. So today, you're part of Randy's Worldwide, right?
Yep.
Isn't that the name of the organization,
yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So then what does that mean? That means that you've actually been acquired. Cognito is now owned by this parent, right? Did that change anything? Are you still at the helm? What's that dynamic?
I'm still at the helm. Now, it's just good to partner up with a bunch of other brands. We're all kind of good at our own things.
But
and
you kind of have economies of scale for
Yeah.
like manufacturing and purchasing raw materials and things like that, right?
Yeah, so, well, some of that,
Okay.
right? Some of that, because freight is so expensive nowadays, you got to accommodate for freight. So it's not like you can have one hub where you stock all this stuff, everything gets shipped there, and then you disperse it from there, because freight's going to eat you up.
Yeah.
So,
So you can go to FedEx and negotiate all of these companies together.
So you're under one account, but we're in different hubs essentially, right? So I sold my assets of Cognito to Randy's because I want to keep growing. But I've done this for 23 years, the hard way, learning everything the hard way. And I'm just like, man, I'm 49. It's time to get on a rocket ship here, and I think those guys are equipped to do it. So that's why I jumped in. When I heard, oh, you guys bought Icon? Because I had no clue, dude.
Dynatrack?
Yeah,
Icon?
My head is buried doing my work,
Yeah.
and I had no idea that Icon sold to Randy's. I had no idea Carly sold to Randy's. Dynatrack, I had no idea. So when I heard
they're
that,
acquiring
I'm like,
all of these are basically premium individually owned brands that have brand equity and product equity inside this industry.
Exactly.
And a lot of them have similar stories to yours.
Yeah.
Like they were started by real dudes solving real problems.
Yeah. So Carly, like Sage Carly, I met him 15 years ago on an off-road trip.
And now you guys go to Christmas parties together for work.
Met him, and so we kind of got to know each other a little bit. And I'm like, this dude's a lot like me. So when I heard he sold to Randy's, I'm like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah.
I'm going to investigate some more. And man,
so they knocked on your door?
They knocked on my door, and I had a lot of people knocking on my door, but I wasn't really interested. I threw out wild numbers to him. I'm like, hey, you give me this, and you can have it, But no, Randy's knocking.
This is the
door.
I don't want to do it number, right?
Exactly.
Meet it, and I'll change my mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make me move.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
number.
Yeah.
So they knock on my door. They kind of tell me what they're doing, who they have already acquired, what the goal is, and I'm like, this is pretty interesting. I think I'm interested. So we did.
Was it scary?
It was 15 months of hard work and due diligence and whatnot. But man, is it scary? I don't know. I don't think so.
No, was it scary at that moment?
No, it wasn't scary. Not to me. You got one life to live, and I know I want to keep growing, and I just want to get to the point where we're profitable enough so I can pay my people who helped get us here more than average wage. I want them to be happy where they're at, stick around, help build a badass company.
And you want to sit on a beach with a cigar in your mouth and
really.
umbrella?
No, not this guy.
maybe 3 or 4 days, a couple times a year, I can do that. But man, more than 3 or 4 days, I start getting that itch.
Yeah, itch.
Yeah.
I always joke like I'll never be retired because I like working too much.
Totally.
I don't know what to do with myself if I'm just always on. It's I've got 3 businesses now. Going from working in corporate, the corporate world for, my entire career to owning 3 businesses and go. I don't know what I would do if that ended tomorrow.
What are we going to do? Die? We start dying? No. So people ask me, hey, are you going to retire? What are you going to do? I'm like, hey, I'm not going to retire. What would I might as well stay here, help build this thing, throw a little equity in the deal. So I got some skin in the game, and that's what I wanted to do. So I'm like, hey, I already got it this far. We can keep going. I got a lot to learn, right? Do I want to start over from scratch and get back to where? No.
Yeah.
I want to keep learning. Keep learning how this works, and this team's helping me do that. So, that's the goal. I'm still ahead of company. I'm gonna stay on for several more years, and until I'm just
ready,
can work remotely and tell people, hey, cool, and just check in.
What's your number one selling kit? And then the other question is, what is your value proposition? What if I'm calling in to talking to one of your sales guys, and I'm looking at other kits on the market? Yep. Because you've got a lot of competition.
Why Cognito?
Why Cognito?
Yep. I get a lot of that today and yesterday. Why Cognito? Okay, simple. You've got a guy, pointing at myself here, You got a guy who understands suspension, particularly IFS, and steering, and knows how to maximize the potential of that steering that GM built, right? So I can maximize that. I know what it needs to ride good. Essentially, I know what recipe I need to build. So as long as my customers follow my recipe, they're going to get the promised result every time. You start wandering away from my recipe, you're not going to get the result. Don't piece stuff together.
No Franken
buy my
trucks.
Package, right? So
would you call it a Franken truck?
Franken truck. Yeah, when you Frankenstein it, being a magazine guy, how many builds do we have over the years where we include 47 manufacturers and we're like, it doesn't really work really well.
Yeah, generally, it's all about maximizing droop travel, and then you can take some of that droop travel and convert it into ride height. And the goal is to have enough droop travel so the truck still rides great.
It doesn't pull you down.
Better than stock. Yep. Okay, that's the whole goal. So that's part of my recipe. There's other things in the recipe that are not just parts. It's the setup, which means the installation, and then the ride height setup, alignment, and all that. And you do all that right, that's all part of the recipe, success.
Nice.
Okay?
And then your most popular kit. Like, what are you known for today?
HD is our meat and potatoes. Of course, GM is our meat and potatoes, but out of GM, we got 1500, and then we got, I call it 6-lug and 8-lug, right?
Yeah.
8-lug is definitely the bigger Brutus there of our market share. Leveling kits are hot, especially on these newer trucks, the 2020 and up HDs, because they already come pretty tall, and you can get 35s under them pretty
really
easy.
Tall. And now you get
them ride better in stock.
Yeah, you can get them from the factory on a AV edition Bison. You get 35s.
That's what I got over there.
Yeah, which is a great truck. And then you look at when they went from torsion bars on the 1500s to coilovers.
Yeah.
Was that a big deal for you from a suspension manufacturing standpoint?
It way better setup, but even look at, so you got 07 to 18, 2007 to 2018, you were on coilovers. But when they came out with the new platform for 2019, much better geometry, everything works better, there's more potential there.
Yeah.
Man, they're really, really good trucks. I bought one in 2019 thinking, all right, I'm going to use this to develop some product, then I'm going to get back in my HD. I kept that because I'm like, this is a badass truck.
Yeah, and they built that, so it's funny, I know some of the engineers on that, and the chief engineer called me one day and he goes, I fixed your steering wheel for you. And I said, finally, because I used to bitch that the steering wheel was always offset in those trucks. And so that was the first one where they finally centered it on the seat again.
Literally, this guy has ruined so many, he's made so many unhappy listeners. They're like, they didn't know.
They're driving in their truck, and I talk about that, they're like, oh, no.
Like, now you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Can't unsee it.
And one guy's like, I just got a brand new work truck. I had it for a couple days. I loved it. And then I heard your podcast, and I looked down, and I was like, damn it bugs me every day I drive it. So anyway, he called me about that. But the reason that truck is so good and has potential is because they built it with factory lift kits in mind for Trail Boss and things like that. And so they actually designed that to have a factory potential, which you could, of course, exploit with what you're doing, which is awesome.
And it still has a lot of potential for performance.
Yeah.
We're able to get 1 more inch of height out of it and still and give that thing a lot more performance than it has stock. So, dude, I really love the half tons. That's what I drive every day. But if I'm towing, it's an HD for sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right on, man.
Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
This is
Appreciate
huge.
it.
We wanted to talk to you for a long time.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Good to meet you guys.
Very cool. Thanks, Justin.
I'd like to buy you a beer.
They're free, dude. What?
This isn't your first podcast, is it?
What kind of YouTuber hasn't done a podcast
I thought you
before?
guys all did podcasts.
It's about growth.
Well, you'll see all sorts of growth here.
So if you look at Dawn of Don's life on his YouTube channel, you'll see a new C8. You'll see it looks like he's got not a Suburban or an Escalade. He's got an Escalade. He's got hopefully he's got an old
Don's wife.
That's Don's wife
Yes.
of Don's life.
Yes, it has the Escalade,
I got it. He's straight baller right here.
All right, so you're from Ontario, Canada.
No.
No, where are you from?
This says...
Ontario, California.
Yeah,
But you're from
EGR
Canada.
EGR
yeah,
right
it's
down.
EGR.
I'm from
Which
Canada.
Lightning has been there before.
I live in
They had to
Saskatoon.
kick him out. Saskatoon, okay.
Yeah, that's where I live currently.
So our number 2 biggest market is...
It's not Saskatoon.
Canada. No. Canadians love us.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Most of the ones we haven't insulted.
Well, you.
Yeah.
The ones not listening to AM radio.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't insult them.
Okay.
So wait, Saskatoon. Where? East Coast, West Coast?
It's Western Canada. It's the center of Saskatchewan. It's 4.5, 5 hours southeast of Edmonton.
Okay, so you were the guy. You were the ones that have no emissions laws, like your crazy Wild West.
We register our vehicle and we do whatever we want to it, unless it's tint.
That's the line. Do you ever look at them and go, really, that's the line?
Unless
That's the
it's
line.
tint.
And mud flaps recently. I had a little
Really?
video about that.
They don't care about your rolling coal, but if they walk up and they can't see the dude in the car, they freak.
See, our Canadian listeners often, they like to poke us about that, taunt us with their freedom up there. You guys are more free in some ways than we are. Not all of them, but
it's a give and take.
A little bit of a give and take.
There's some parallels. And some
there are
big gaps.
Yeah, it's a big gap. Yeah, especially recently.
So we need to know your background, and then we also need to know what you're doing with the channel now. So every channel's got a hook, right? Whether it's Engineering Explained, and he digs into the engines, or it's you with your channel. And I'm looking through, you got a lot of HD content, but let's back up before you tell us about the channel. Do you have a day job? Did you have a day job?
I still have a day job.
Okay.
I do corporate HR.
Oh.
Yeah,
that sounds
I
exciting.
deal with people and their problems, and I problem solve. But
my
that's how
mom
I
did
continue to be married.
HR, so there's a special place in heaven for you. That's hard. It's a hard job. People are weird.
It's hard. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Okay.
But it's
so
fun.
you're doing HR for a big company, or
Yes.
you're okay.
Yeah, I try to keep my day job separate from my YouTube, which is.
Do you ever have to do like a performance improvement plan, a PIP, and they walk in, they're like, "Oh, I watch your YouTube channel." Like, "Oh, this is going to be a really awkward conversation."
Not in that scenario. Let's just say that there's a few people that I meet for the first time. Because I travel, I cover an area in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Where we're most populated. And I also cover a little bit in the prairies where I live. And somebody will recognize me from that first. And I try to push that aside, deal with the business part, and then the same speech I'm giving you, I try to keep them separate. One's a hobby and one's work.
And then there's that bootleg Instagram account called Fired by Don's Life.
I doubt it. He keeps it separate.
If it's not existing, I'm going to start it.
You should.
So then, how did you start the channel, and what was the first vehicle?
Yeah, so I started it around 2019, just before the pandemic. At that time, I had, because I'm happily married, I'm supposed to say that. I am.
Oh, you should have seen the look she just gave you.
Daggers were like laser beams.
You know, she's recording this, and I can see her eyes just above the side of the phone.
There needs to be some drama in YouTube. We know that.
She is the Department of War and Finance in your
less
cabinet?
finance, more war. But in all seriousness,
you're going to be sleeping in different beds tonight. Just FYI.
Well, when we got here, they had the room messed up, and they had separate beds. So
so it works out fine.
That was night one. So I'm already acclimated to that. But it started because, I've done this stuff since I could get into a car. I mean, my first car was a K car, then it was a 67 Chevelle that was pretty rough. Worked on that as I could through high school, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to married life and 2019, and I'm like, you know what, I've been doing all these mods forever. I have a sister that's an influencer for a bunch of outdoor Toyota stuff in Canada.
Oh.
So she does pretty good with that. And I'm like, I could do this. I'm cooler than my sister, right? We're supposed to be. And
I think that about my sister.
Yeah, exactly.
I love you, Lisa.
And I have a sister named Lisa, but this is Lindsay. But either way, I'm like, I'm going to start documenting this stuff and put it on YouTube. If people watch, they watch. Who cares? Once I got over that part that I'm not getting any better looking, I'm just getting older.
And you're doing it for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just started putting it out there, and my first.
Isn't that our ethos? That's why we're on podcasting. We're not getting any younger. We're not getting better looking. Yeah, the audio works great for us. So
perfect. Well, video seems to be working, but maybe people feel better as they keep watching. My dad passed away in 2009, and out of that whole debacle, once that was all figured out, I made sure I kept the 3100 1956 Chevy Cameo. So that was one of the first vehicles on the channel, but it doesn't really need anything done to it. It's not stock, but it's good. You can drive it on Sunday, go to a car show, bring it home, and it's good. And then I bought a BMW M4, and I thought that was going to launch my YouTube success. It did not. And then I bought my 2021 GMC Sierra AT4, started doing some mods on it, and the channel blew
Exploded.
up.
Wow.
It did. Yeah.
What do you suppose the difference was? Was there too much BMW content, or
That's
just
probably it?
Okay.
I couldn't ever really put my finger on it.
because there's like too many daily driven exotics to compete with, right?
The other thing I'm curious about too is
Maybe.
what are your demographics? Are you pulling more from the States or from Canada? Yeah,
way
okay.
more. Texas and California.
Oh, amazing.
Probably make up about 80. Well,
I think it's because of your
70%.
Texas accent.
Yeah, about
Closer
that.
to the
About
mic.
that. Yeah, lots of U.S. Probably 88, 90% U.S.
Wow.
viewership.
Okay.
And then Canada, and then the rest is Middle East and Canada, obviously, and UK.
So you start with this. What year was the HD you said?
When you say HD, you mean the
Your truck.
ET4? Yeah, it's a 1500. It might just look bigger than it is because of some of the stuff I've done to it. But I started that February 2021. I reached out to EGR to ask a question about their mud flap, or their, fender flares.
Get that tire coverage.
Yeah, and they're like, we're just going to send them to you. And then that's when our relationship kind of kicked off, and that's why I'm kind of in front of you today. But
And are you running the roll track on there as well now?
I'm running the electric roll track. Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Because we know what we think about it. He's got one on his TRX. Curious your thoughts.
I've owned trucks for most of my adult life.
Yeah.
And I've had several tonneau covers, from the roll-up ones to the flip-overs to the backflips and things like that. Hands down, this is my favorite tonneau cover ever. And it's industrious. That's the word I've been using lately, as I kind of see what else is out there. I mean, it can hold the weight. I can stand on it if I need to, which I don't typically do. But if I take my build in another direction, which I might go a little more overlander style while I still have this truck, I don't have to worry about what I stack on it,
Or you can use a lightener rack that goes in the T-slots on the rails, which is awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. But I was testing their sport bar when it first came out to this market, and I've been running that for a while, and I get a lot of questions about that. And I love the setup. I mean, I can't say enough good things.
I talk a lot about the engineering, and I don't know if that translates to the average person, because that's what excites me about it. I look at the engineering, and of course it's an Australian company. A lot of the stuff is built in the U.S. as well, in Ontario, California. But the roll track system is so well engineered, and I have to say, German engineering. It's not, it's Australian engineers. I think that would resonate with people. They're like, oh, they understand that German engineering oftentimes is better, right? And I liken it to that, and I don't know but do you feel the same way that the engine, when I opened the box and I looked at the way that everything was laid out, the jig that it comes with, so you can make sure that it's square on your bed, and nothing was left, there was no room for error. You weren't going to screw up, They prevented that. It's amazing.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of Australian companies. One of the things that they do really well is the way they package for installation. And there's other companies that everything you open the box, there's no guesswork. It's foolproof.
But the tolerances are perfect. So anyway, I want to get your take on it.
Yeah, so you mentioned the jig. So we did the whole setup. Actually, Mrs. Dawn's Life helped me with the hard part, lifting it onto the bed rails. And, in that video, you'll see that when we put it together, you don't really see me use the jig, because everything lined up so square and true that there was no resistance opening and closing the box during the test calibrations.
And really, that to shim it or whatever is because of the tolerance in the bed itself, not in the product, right? Yeah. It's because these trucks aren't always made square, but that product
I've measured some Rams in my day job, and I've measured up to a half an inch off across X. If you go diagonally across the truck, a half an inch, it's off. It's crazy. Stellantis not so good, but GM is off too. So they account for that by giving me this jig.
Yeah, they do. And the installation, it can, at first glance, if you look at the instruction manual, you start like, what did I get myself into? But honestly, just follow the steps. Actually, watch my video, and you'll get through it pretty easy.
Okay. At Don's Life on YouTube.
Yeah.
So then what's the current project? Are you still working on this 1500?
I am, and the C8 Corvette.
Okay.
So, there was some drama when I first bought the C8. People were happy, like, oh, you bought the C8. But then I started making videos for it. But I was conscious of my audience that were watching for the truck content. So I put a little blurb in some of the videos early on when I got the car that
this is not a truck.
I'm still going to do GMC Sierra videos and truck content, and I try to make my truck content in such a way that it's got a universal appeal. You could have a Ford, you could have a Ram, doesn't matter. Probably a domestic truck would be easier to kind of relate.
Sure.
But I still foster that audience, and then my C8 is just a branch on the tree. So if you're into C8s or domestic sport cars, then there's stuff there for you too.
Okay, so it's Don's Life is the YouTube channel, and we suggest you go over for some entertaining and educational content.
Probably better than this show.
Without having watched it, yes.
But if you buy a EGR roll track, use our code, not his.
Oh, does he have a code?
I'm guessing he probably does.
Don's Life. There's a plug.
No. Blah, 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 blah.
We'll mute that.
You have the power here. But no, it's a pleasure, guys.
Awesome. We appreciate
I've been
the
listening
time.
for a while, and
Thank you.
You're easy to speak with. So
Nice.
Thank you.
Congrats on having the fun with the channel.
You know, that's the
and,
nicest compliment we've had all day.
I just ignored it.
You need one.
I'm not used to nice
well,
compliments.
you don't know how to handle compliments,
no,
do you?
I just move right past it.
You'll reflect later, and you'll feel good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right, we got Jason Sonora with us.
Pro Speed Off-Road, yeah.
Awesome. Where are you out of?
We just moved to Glendora.
From
Fullerton.
Oh, okay.
Oh, dang.
Not
wow.
too far.
I'm
Yeah.
over in Azusa, 605-210, behind the Miller,
Every
what
time
was the Miller Brewing plant.
That was Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Every
or
time I
something,
tell
isn't it?
someone Glendora, they're like, "Oh my God, how far did you guys move?" And I'm like, "It's not Glendale.
Yeah, it's
Right.
Glendora.
It's Glendora."
Glendora.
So we
Yes.
just tell people Raging Waters.
Well, you know how it is in SoCal. It's how far you moved in time. It's not miles, because miles is not a big deal.
We did that. So first we said we moved to Glendora, and nobody knew where that was.
Yeah.
So we're like 19 minutes away. Oh, okay.
Yeah. San Gabriel
so where
Valley.
did you move? Glendora.
Auto Club Raceway, right?
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
say that?
that's-
no?
that's Fontana.
It's been interesting. So now we just
No,
have this
not the
really
Fontana,
big
the one
map.
in Pomona, because that's
Oh,
close.
the Raceway, not the Speedway,
Yes.
which is no longer there because they're building
I
stuff.
guess so.
Anyway, you know
I'm
what's
glad those are
awesome
gone.
is we're after hours and we could be as loud as we want now, or maybe we shouldn't be as loud because we're not competing with.
No,
the
we're not. We're
background
not
noise.
having to scream over anyone. Yeah.
No, that's good.
So how long have you been in business? What do you do out there?
We've been in business for 17 years. We started back in 2008, and little funny side story, I told my barber that I quit my job, really got fired for the 4th time.
Oops.
And I was going to start my own business, and she was like, "You do realize we're in a recession, right?" I said, "Yeah, I know, but I got a plan." Well, it's worked. So.
Well, that's good.
What was the plan?
Could you help me with my plan?
The plan was to upset or piss off my former boss.
I've been a part of that plan
yes,
also.
Yes. I actually shook hands with him and chatted with him yesterday, which was really funny because it's the first time we've talked. But yeah, 17 years ago, I had an idea that I could do it better. I could sell the parts that I wanted to sell, install the brands that I wanted to sell, and not have to sell parts that I didn't want to sell. And so, we went off on a young mission to be the best and develop a legacy of building cars and not being. I'll never forget, I got written up because I wouldn't sell some of the stuff in the warehouse.
Or the spiff model that you knew
I
wasn't
feel
right
like
for your
we
customer.
Need to, Can you tell us what you were selling without outing your boss? No.
It's a very popular brand.
Okay.
But it's entry level.
Okay.
We can say that.
And usually there is some money behind it as a salesperson to push it out the door, but might not always be right for your customer.
The company purchased the inventory before I came on. And so they had like $10,000 to $15,000 of stale inventory, and they're like, "Why aren't you selling that?" And I'm like, "Because it's crap."
Yes, why it's stale.
Well, we got to sell it. Well, I didn't tell you to buy it. There was a lot of butting heads when I got into the industry. I have very strong integrity or oppositions to parts that don't work. That particular brand, I almost lost my life a few years before. I'm almost going to not try to give them away, but the throttle body stuck wide open.
Oh, wow.
It was a 2000 Mustang, and I was playing messing around on Beach Boulevard, going to Huntington Beach, and I hit the throttle a little too hard, and a piece of the casting came out and wedged the throttle body wide open. And so, stuff like that just kind of molded me to understand the engineering, understand where the parts are made, how they're made, where their place is in the fishbowl, and just only partner with companies that are not going to do that. But unfortunately, the industry wants to sell those entry-level parts. Price points are where they're at. But, for me, it's about legacy. When I pass away, and when God takes me home, I want a list of cars that are remembered. You can't do that with low-quality parts.
Yeah.
So that was the mission in 2008.
So what are you building today? What does your client list look like?
Ooh.
Should we do a shout out to Carter over there? Carter!
By the way, now it's louder because there's no one standing in front of the
here.
speakers. By the way, did you see BJ Baldwin walk by? Yeah.
Did the beer
The
draw
ballistic
up?
BJ?
We still have beer over there, right? Currently, I'm building a 2018 Raptor for an NFL player. That's super cool. We're rocking out a roll tracks on it. We're doing a BDS suspension. Mickey Thompson tires. We're running some the new.
That's
HRE.
really good that Carter from BDS just walked through the booth when you said that. So
BDS.
That was a really perfect tie-in right there. That worked for everybody.
So I know, right? Yeah, so we're going to set it up. We're going to powder coat all the suspension Fox orange. Super excited. We're going to run the new HRE off-road wheels. I can't remember the model number.
FT1s.
He has them on
TRX.
TRX
Right here. I love those.
You're going
wheels.
down a list of like really premium parts, just like you said.
HRE, I've spoke to Alan
Flow
Peltier.
form. Oh,
yes.
Beautiful.
Light, low, affordable price.
I love the moment you guys are having right now.
Well, when you sell quality parts, and you have people who understand, flow form and how that process happens, you understand the weight savings, the brake savings, the performance gains, like
the
strength, hitting a curb and still being able to roll. I was down in Circuits of America and I saw a Ferrari lost the corner, hit a curb with a flow form on it, hit that curb at probably 85 miles an hour.
Jeez.
Car went up onto the curb and kept rolling. Now, you take a cast wheel like that and you bust it, you're flipping that car and you hope to walk away.
Or a carbon fiber wheel for that matter, if it shatters.
That's true.
So, quality parts, the secret of my success has not really been me, it's been the quality parts.
So that brings us to, you have a partnership with EGR.
Yes.
And that's why we're enjoying our time here in the EGR booth here at SEMA. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So last year, it was 4th of July weekend, ironically enough, and I was at some family's house, and I was kind of bored, and so I developed a logo. We'd been getting trucks and trucks and trucks for about 5 years, unprovokedly. They were coming to our Mustang business because we're working on Ford, so they trusted us. And last year I decided to branch off and start an official division. So we started Pro Speed Off-Road, and it's been a crazy ride in a year. We started with a really cool logo, and we sold more apparel in the last year than we have in the previous 17. But we set out with the same mantra of quality parts, unparalleled craftsmanship. If you want your car done in 20 minutes, you're coming to the wrong shop. We're going to do it right. Like, for example, we're taking a BDS suspension and we're stripping it all down. We're powder coating it Fox Orange. The NFL player we're building it for, he loves orange, and it kind of worked out. So we're doing that. But, it takes a level of dedication and not profit to put the build first. And I'm not going to make any money off of powder coating, but this truck's going to sit there for a week. But when it's done, it makes the products that we're using look good.
Well, it's also becomes word of mouth too.
Yeah,
it's word of mouth, and I have a feeling that's how you're finding your clients, right? They're coming to you now.
For 17 years, I've never spent $1 in advertising.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
So no banner ads, no. If you call it business card marketing, sure, but that's not advertising.
Yeah.
Grassroots. I go to a lot of events. This year, I've been to King of the Hammers. I've been to. I can't think of the one that's at Prim. I'm drawing a blank.
The Mint?
The Mint, yeah. Yep. I went to the Mint 400. We've done Sands Expo. We did our first booth as a business at the Sand Swap, which was super awesome. We met a lot of great folks out there. We just did Off-Road Expo. It's been in a year and a half to see the growth that we've had. The truck market is 55% of my shop right now. I have more trucks than I do cars.
How many bays?
We're at 7 bays.
Wow.
That is considering including our build studio that we've got. So we actually have a room built for final assembly. So we've got a 66 Mustang.
So it's like a clean room?
Yeah.
Okay.
But sexy. It's really sexy. So we've got that. But it's about the efficiency. We were able to build out this building the way we wanted it, and to have all the machinery that we do. In the Ford world, we actually have a vertical mill. We've got a hydraulic manual tube bender. Wow. We've got an industrial bandsaw. We've got a MIG and a TIG. And we're almost a full fab shop. But I've learned, in this industry, most parts require, we have a saying, every part requires 3 modifications to fit. That was one of the reasons we partnered up with EGR.
I was going to say, no mods.
No mods.
Yeah.
And that, in the truck world, I feel like because the the brands are bigger and the companies have more engineering, we find a lot less problems, if any, for that matter. Which is not what we've experienced with some of the manufacturers in the Ford world. But when I could take something out of a box and not have missing parts, we ordered a supercharger one time from a major company, which I will not say, and the whole bracket was opposite mirrored.
Oh, no.
Oops.
Oh, yeah. So it's some interesting stuff, but, dealing with the truck world and partnering with the best companies, we don't have those problems, and it's been nice. But if
EGR is an engineering first company.
Oh, I know.
I think that's the
I've been to
difference.
their
There are some
plant.
companies that are. It's a marketing firm that happen to sell parts. They're the opposite, right? It's the part first, the engineering, and then marketing later.
Yeah, but I've been there, and it's mind-boggling the level of production that they have and the stuff that they're doing. And I have my buddy here with me, and we open the roll track, and you physically can't hear it.
Yeah.
And that I've watched the videos over and over again. I've showed my clientele the video of the bodybuilder standing in the middle of it with like 450 kilogram balls.
He wouldn't let me stand on his. I'm like, it'll hold me. He's like, don't mess with my truck.
But that's nobody else has that quality.
Yeah.
Somebody did steal when they were trying to steal my truck.
They just
stood on it and they
yeah.
slithered in through the back window on the TRX. But it held them. It didn't even scratch. It was amazing.
So if you're in SoCal and you want to look for a good shop, how do people find you?
It's weird that you say that because it's been word of mouth.
Yeah.
They can.
We've got a lot of mouths.
Are
on
you
this
saying?
show.
Are you subtly saying don't call you? Like you've got too much business? Is that what you're saying?
To be honest, actually.
Okay.
All right. Do not look for ProSpeed.
No.
Do not, no. Pretend you're not listening to this interview and ignore it.
On a project list, we're booked out until March.
Oh, wow.
Probably April, if I'm being honest.
All right. So if you're still saving for that truck and you're going to get it sometime around summertime, call our man Jason over here.
Awesome.
All right. Congrats.
Well, appreciate you.
Thank you for stopping by.
Mr. James Horwill, our friend, our very tall friend.
It's good to see you again.
Welcome back to the show.
Have you grown an inch since the last time we saw you, or have we shrunk?
I'm wearing high heels.
Oh, are you?
Look at this. Hold on a second. I'm going to take the time here.
So the funny thing is that these tables...
Do you want me to sit down?
These tables are so tall that the mics are pointing down, and James walks up, and we have to point it up at him.
There it goes. No, you're good. You're good.
We're good.
So, SEMA again.
Yeah, it's great.
We should just start doing this every year?
Every year. I think it should be a
I love
regular
it.
thing. So, it's good to be back. It's always a crazy time of year to come to SEMA, particularly coming from Oz. So I only got in Monday night, so I've been here 48 hours. Almost on the dot. Yeah, arrived in.
So this is the day after the election. Were you in a hotel? One of the hotels last night. I heard the Ahern was crazy. It was like lesbians for Trump, and like it was all these interesting groups.
I definitely wasn't at that party.
Okay, but like I've been hearing like ours was kind of mellow. The Westgate where we are.
There were cheers.
There were cheers. Now I'm not asking you to weigh in politically. I'm just saying, as being an Australian, was it interesting to observe?
Very interesting. I was it was part when I saw that SEMA was on the same time as the election. It was crazy because obviously it's getting a lot of press back home, a lot of information, a lot of, it's just everything's bigger in the US, right? And it's almost its own. You
can't escape it.
It's almost like its own reality TV series. Like it's just watching and everyone's fixated on it.
And next week it'll be on to something else.
Are you making fun of us though? No, because I'd be like, are those wacky Americans?
Well, no, I mean, I did say that you never see someone wearing like a MAGA hat around, but for the Australian party, it just wouldn't happen. Like you wouldn't have someone walking around sort of supporting.
We've sort of created
one of our prime ministers, whoever they're voting for. That just wouldn't happen.
You were in professional sports, and the way I equate it to is like we've all decided that it's not political parties; they're teams. And we put on our team jerseys. And we forgot what we're actually fighting about. We just know like we're just cheering for our team now at this point, right?
Exactly. And that's sort of. We have it in Oz. We just had our local state election back where we're based, and it was so mellow and just not even a thing. There was a change in government, but it was just not a thing that happened. That was everyone just did it. And it's compulsory to vote in Australia, so it's different to here. So you have to vote. You get a fine if you don't vote.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. So it's
what kind of a fine is it? Is it substantial?
Like $150.
Okay,
Aussie, so that's probably.
But for some people that may not have a ton of discretionary income. You got to vote.
So anyone over 18, once you're registered to vote, you have to register to vote. You're in. You have to, and you'll get a letter in the mail if you didn't vote, and you can mail out early vote and all that sort of stuff. But so it's a little bit different. We sort of forced to vote for every election.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to ask you this for a year. If by some chance Lightning and I stow away on the wheels of a 747 or A380 or something,
and we're not frozen when it lands, and we're not dead,
will you take us out for beers in Australia?
Love to come out for beers, definitely. We'll show you a good time.
I love Australia.
We'll show you a good time.
So in the year that I'm going to pretend like we don't know what's going on with the EGR, and I'll ask you cold. What has changed in the last year at EGR, either product-wise, company-wise?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us, product-wise in the US, is our increase of SKUs of our roll track. That's been our big push.
And manual and power.
Manual and power. Yeah. So we've gone from probably about 7 SKUs. So we just had the 5.5-foot beds for the 1500s for the big 3, really, and the Gladiator, obviously the Jeep. Now we've gone the full range. So we've got up to 28 SKUs. We've got the 6.5-foot beds, 5.5-foot beds for the big 3, all the Toyotas now. So the Tundra and the Tacoma, and also the backdated Tacoma and Tundra.
That's going to do well for you.
So that's given us the range. And then obviously the new Rangers come out here, which is the global platform. So that's been our biggest seller in Australia.
That is vying for first place with Hilux, right? Back and forth with the best-selling truck down there?
Well, it's the recent stats that come out, it's still the number one selling vehicle. No, so not even
vehicle.
Truck. So vehicle. Right, so it's like the F-Series here, number one selling vehicle in the US. The Ranger is the number one selling vehicle in Australia, period.
That's
at
crazy.
The moment. So it's our biggest seller in Oz, and also in the UK. We've had some good success with the roll cover there. So that's now launched, and it's on our booth here at SEMA. So that's a global platform. So that gives us a good opportunity to spread it out here in the US.
I feel like we're standing next to a gorgeous white Denali, GMC,
Ultimate.
Yep, Ultimate, and it's loaded. You got. Of course, it looks beautiful. You guys got a bunch of mods on, but the most important thing is the roll track right here, right? Electric roll track.
This is the 6.5-foot bed.
So it's like the Super Duty.
So we were waiting for a little while for this one. Like that's one of the newer releases, correct?
Yes, it's only we'd only been out a number of months max for the.
I feel like the number of, at least in Southern California where we are, this will end up being your bestseller.
Yes.
This one right here, because every guy
all the luxury truck guys, they want to have a trunk.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so look, I think that's the messaging we came back. We obviously launched in the market with the smaller trucks. So the feedback, we had the team over here, a lot of feedback from the market saying, hey, you need the full range, the 6.5-foot beds, I guess you call them standard beds, not the short beds.
Yeah.
For us, these trucks are massive.
And you can still get an 8 on top of this.
Yeah, so we're going, well, this is the market. This is where the people put the roll covers.
I mean, this is a $100,000 truck.
So this is where the money is too. This guy who owns this truck has the money to buy this, and he wants the best.
And he wants the functionality that this adds.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so look, we've listened, and we've painstakingly gone through SKU by SKU and built the trucks we believe are there. And now this, with the big 3 we call them, and then the Toyotas. We feel we've completed that full range not completed the full range, but it's given us a bigger range to go to market with.
Now, I'm kind of curious. Obviously, we've talked about the engineering that went inside of it, but in the OVR magazine, which is my other business, right? Overlanding space. I've been really shocked at how many people have used the T-tracks that are built into the roll track in the T-slots there in order to add other accessories, whether it's your sport bar, whether it's rack, something like the Lightner setup, whatever, because they love the idea of being able to have their bed open, closed, and still have storage on top. Has that been sort of the big differentiator? Is that the big win for you guys on the product?
I think for us, when we were building and designing the roll cover, we worked out that people want to buy a pickup, buy a ute, or whatever we call it in Australia. They want to use it for what it's built for. That's what you bought the car for. So by putting a cover on it, we understand you restrict space, but we want to be able to put stuff on top of it because that's what people want to do. So they want to load, they want to put their bikes, they want to put their overland racks, they want to put their rooftop tents. So by putting the cover on the bed rails gives us that weight advantage. So we're at a 750 pound static weight load. So you can put a good amount of weight.
You do a rooftop tent on top of it if you want to.
On top of that, and that's why we've designed it to sit on top of the bed rail. So it gives you that more strength, and that's why it does connect to the bed, so it's sort of bolted in, not clamped in.
Right.
So it makes you feel part of the vehicle.
Well, and the way you guys have designed the extrusion for the bed rail caps, it doesn't look aftermarket.
No.
And so it doesn't look like it's an accessory. I mean, I think some people are like, oh, I want flush, but when they see this, it doesn't detract from the style of the truck, which is a big deal.
No, exactly, and I think that comes back to what our core business has always been at EGR. We're an OE Tier 1 manufacturer for the OEs, and that's where this product sort of developed. We developed it with Toyota for their Hilux, so the number one selling, one of the top selling pickups in in Oz, and we've developed it for their sort of top of the line, top spec vehicle, and so we've developed that along the line, so it makes it come part of your vehicle. So that's why the central locking connects, uses your factory key fob to open, close.
That's one of the best
Which
things.
is awesome, which I use all the time.
So
yes.
I mean, it's just, and you can actually use the internal buttons inside your cab, you unlock and lock,
Yes.
and do the same thing. So
Correct.
you can, when you want
Well,
to
it's tied in with your CAN bus.
Exactly.
And I've said this before, it's been a few episodes, but the way you've integrated, you're not using a T-tap like a car stereo guy would do. You have factory, you have OE connectors. So you literally take two connectors, you
Put a little Y in
put
there.
the little,
Yep.
like a T in there, but it's the same as the factory connector. You click it back together.
That's never
Nobody
going
would
bad. Yeah.
It's just so
This
well
goes back to you guys
engineered.
being tier one and being able to have that kind of engineering acumen in the product, which is what makes it special.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I think it comes to where our core business has always been. And look, sometimes we're a bit slow, and sometimes we understand, we over engineer things at times. And that, I'm not saying that for the aftermarket space, but overall, we want to deliver a product. You know, this comes from the same factory using all the same components that Toyota use on their factory vehicle as their part. It's what GM do for theirs and other manufacturers. So
there's no such thing as over-engineering. There's only under-engineering.
Yes, true.
And I think most customers will wait for the better product too. You know, I think there's a lot of, here at SEMA, there's the gold rush to have the first products on the new vehicle.
Yes.
But I think that's great for the splash, but it's not great for the customer. And I think there's a lot of people who wait it out for the right product.
Yeah, and look, I think for our product, we understand that it's different to what's in the market currently, particularly the roll cover. It does take a little bit longer to install, but we know that once you've got it installed, you're not going to have the problems. It's worth it.
And you don't have to worry about it
done
again.
properly. So it's, as I said, it comes part of the vehicle, and that's something that we sort of get. And it is challenging and changing that mindset of compared to some of the other covers on the market. It is a longer install, we get that, but once you get it installed, once you do it a few times, you get used to, you will bring it down, and we got guys in Oz doing it.
Yeah, but I installed it. This guy right here, with the two thumbs pointing at himself, like I did it. If I can do it, I'm telling you that anyone can do it.
He has a hard time putting on a light switch, so.
No. I'm handy. I got all the right tools, but I was intimidated. I opened the boxes and I said, I'm going to do it. It was
He called me crying.
No, that's not true at all.
He
That's
was
not
in
true.
the corner of his one car garage, just in the fetal position, sobbing. And I
If
had
you go to
come back him.
truckshowpodcast.com and you go down the featured vehicles page, so Holman's 392, my TRX, and you scroll down, you'll see the installation video that I shot of the roll track, and it's straightforward, and again, anyone can do it. So if you have any trepidation, watch my video, and you go, oh, okay, I can totally do this.
And while you're there, truckshowpodcast.com, go to our featured products page where we have our EGR section, and you can get a discount off of the product if you buy it. So make sure you guys
get a rebate.
And I heard that our code's been working, so I like that.
Very good.
So I appreciate all of our listeners who've supported EGR, and of course, we appreciate you guys for supporting the podcast.
Thank you for your support. Look, it's great, and it's great to get the word out there. And as we said, we appreciate everyone supporting EGR, and we enjoy being back here in SEMA. It's nice being back here in the US, so it's been a fun time.
Well, we love the brand, and I think it's time to drink beers with you.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, so how was that for our second EGR in-booth episode?
I'm impressed by us.
No, I was worried about this pretty much all week long, stressed about it, and then I realized in the middle of it, I'm like, oh yeah, we're pretty good at this, I think.
I mean, you are.
I mean, we're not horrible.
So, I mean, before we started this, before we even started rolling the recorder, Holman rolls up and he goes, yeah, you don't look good. And I'm not feeling good.
No, you hung through there. I was proud of you. Good job.
So if you're listening and you're like, hey, Lightning's not saying as much as he normally does.
Oh, no, that wasn't an issue.
Oh, no?
No, you'll listen back to it. It'll be it's all you.
I let you lead most of these, because
Uh-huh.
you're a little more qualified in some of these areas, but I am just beat. I have got something going on with my left leg and my right hip. I'm just like falling apart.
It's age.
But no, I don't think so. Maybe it is. But regardless.
Did you call my guy who does the neck cracking?
No, I went to another guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Did it help?
Dude, I've had everything. I've been stretched. There's a dude that comes to my house now and
Wow.
stretches me all weird and wacky like a pretzel.
And it hasn't helped?
And he's like, yeah, I've seen worse. And I go, oh, really?
That's not a great qualifier.
It's weird. Enough talking about my health. I'm fine overall. I'm just freaking tired and I'm worn. So, but I'm excited.
You know what's keeping us from ending the show?
Me.
You. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stop right now. So we need to thank Nissan for making this show possible.
Yep.
Are we going to go see Nissan tomorrow and then try to weave this in, or what do we do?
Well, I think we're going to have a couple SEMA episodes I don't know what the frequency will be, but we've got a lot of interviews. We've been covering a lot of ground here. Okay. So this is our first drop. There'll be more SEMA drops this week, and we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate Nissan for being our presenting sponsor. Of course, we super appreciate our friends over at EGR for having us in their booth and for the free beer. And so that's awesome.
Of which,
you should probably drink that. And then, of course, AMSOIL and Banks. So we got everybody here. We're going to do...
How many Ram Air rear diff covers did you see? A few?
There are a few here.
I've seen at least 7 so far.
Yeah, there were quite a bit. And I went through the AMSOIL booth today, and we're going to go grab a bite with them. So it's just been a great SEMA so far.
Are we hanging out with Mr. Birdsall?
We are going to go see Mr. Birdsall. So what I want to do is right when he takes his first bite, we should stick a recorder right in his face and interview him.
Because he's a food snob.
He is a food snob. I want to ruin that experience for him in Vegas.
AMSOIL at first asked us, like, hey, what do you guys want to eat? And then Holly at AMSOIL, she says, ... wait a minute. Scott's the food snob.
Our resident food snob, yeah. All right, so thanks, everybody. And don't forget, head to truckshowpodcast.com if you're interested in finding out more about the EGR products. You can see the link on our page under featured products and also our affiliate code or our rebate code. So make sure you use that and buy yourself some EGR products.
I think we're officially the last people in the West Hall.
Good night, SEMA! The Truck Show, the Truck Show, the Truck Show, oh, oh.